welcome. All right. Welcome to another Pro Football Doc Sports Injury Central podcast here. Sorry we're a little late on the 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 11 a.m. Pacific. We had a good meeting here in the Six Score War Room. Fantasy and prop calculator, lots of new features for next year. Nice meeting this morning that ran long, so I apologize.
Stuff to make your life better in the future.
Yeah. Well, all sorts of tech issues. And suffice it to say, we have a product coming up, and we're trying to figure out how to get it out there. Not only will it tell you based on projections with injuries inside, offensive line, health versus defensive line or defensive injuries for running backs, etc., that will give you a expected points per thousand on FanDuel DFS projections, or establish the run fantasy season-long projections, an adjuster for that week 5 with the opponent against the opponent's health, etc. So there's a lot of good things. But the big topic, Taylor, this week is what? The draft.
And the questions that happen after. Yeah, we have a lot to talk about.
What's your biggest takeaway from the draft? Okay, Shedeur.
Yeah, well, outside of Shedeur, right?
Okay.
I like them. I don't know. We're always like, we get excited, I guess, when our content is correct or predictive. I didn't like the way, but the fallout of Will Johnson was interesting. I thought a lot of players that we saw were better than him, cornerback wise, went ahead of him. There was a reason for that. There was a turf toe, and then there's that knee injury. Apparently, was more a big deal.
There was some injury stuff in this draft. Yeah, he dropped. They're saying knee issue. I'm still worried about turf toe.
Right.
Look, I just don't see a hamstring preventing you from running at combines, and the 8 weeks afterwards preventing you from running. There had to be more to it.
Even at Pro Day, he wasn't able to showcase what he could, so it was a problem.
Even if you don't at Pro Day, don't you just set up a workout?
Something to make him look. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So, anyways, but to me, the biggest takeaway isn't that we can talk about the prank phone call. We can talk about Shedeur. I always get a chuckle. To me, declaring every GM in the league, every team declares a successful draft.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever heard of a team that says, yeah, we didn't draft the way we wanted?
No one's going to say that. Yeah.
It's equivalent to every doctor telling you, or every athlete who ever has surgery was a success.
Right. Successful surgery done. Yep.
Successful as in it was completed. Successful draft, it was completed. We turned in picks.
Right.
We didn't miss them, at least in terms of like what in your.
You didn't miss a deadline. Yeah, the pick was in.
The Vikings missed.
Yeah.
for our spot. Right.
Yep.
But my point is, you cannot declare success. Declaring success of the draft the minute after it's over is like declaring the success of a surgery. You don't know until the recovery is done, until the rehab is done on that ACL, etc. You don't know until you see the guys on an NFL field. You may not know for 2 years or 3 years, depending on.
It's a long-term thing. Yeah.
I just think it's funny how everyone is declaring success or failure of a draft. It's like saying this surgery is a success. You're never going to hear any different. But no doctor's going to come out, or no agent or no team's going to come out. We didn't like the way the surgery went. Look, Nick Chubb with his horrific knee injury. Yeah, it was a horrific injury. We didn't like the way it went. Oh, it's like we've got optimism. He's going to hope springs eternal. And that's how draft picks.
Well, speaking of Chubb, he's one of the people that people are looking at after the draft, because if you need a running back, the J.K. Dobbins and Chubb, both who we really had extreme injury concerns, the last couple of years, they're both free agents right now. Do you think they've been waiting for a draft, or you still have worries about Chubb, right, with his long-term issues?
They're free agents for a reason, right?
For at this point in time, too, this late in.
Right.
Yeah.
And the other thing, let's reiterate, when we talk about an injury, our worries, let's say, about Will Johnson or whatever. First of all, we're not breaking any news to teams. They examined him. They
have more
know
information.
What his turf toe is, what his knee situation is, what his hamstring is. When I was in the NFL and the 20 combines I went to, I didn't ever read a public report, and it never changed my opinion. Every doctor or every agent that comments, it's going to be, oh, he's going to be ready for the start of the season, and whether they are or not. And so we're not breaking news and destroying a guy's draft chances. No one's listening to what we have to say because you got the firsthand information. I did think the Chiefs, that left tackle, who we knew was going to drop some,
Josh Simmons from Ohio State,
with the left patella tendon rupture. Yeah, he's not ready week 1, I don't think, but it's okay. They got Jalen Milroe, and look, they want some depth. And
Jalen Moore.
Sorry,
you're good.
Another
rookie. Yeah.
Jalen Milroe, just because my son was talking about him.
Alabama, he went to Seattle.
We saw him play this year in person. The Chiefs need help on their O-line, and he'll provide it late this season and beyond. And I think the Chiefs are okay with that when they're.
Well, he's a guy that was like a
32,
like a Jeffrey Simmons type. Like he was one that was maybe the best offensive lineman in the whole draft, and maybe could have gone top 15. So if you're getting him at 32, or another situation, someone goes later, like a Deion Walker goes later, that's probably you're getting value, right? Like even like you said, Simmons isn't going to go in and be the left tackle to start immediately. They're going to let him recover, and then, like you said, eventually be of usage in some way.
Yeah. So my take on the draft is, first of all, you can't declare success of a draft or failure of a draft. And the other thing you have to look at, I saw the Bills GM.
Oh, Brandon Bean. Yes. Yeah.
I guess he was waiting to come on air, and
he came hot on the radio. I was hearing the clip. He was immediately mad. He immediately started. He's like, "You guys are still bitching like you were in 2018," because that's when people wanted Josh Rosen instead of Josh Allen. So he was already mad at the media going into that. But
and I don't know if the radio station is on as the flagship for the Bills. It might be. The host certainly backpedaled and basically apologized.
Yeah.
Well, you should have listened to what we had to say before. I mean, if I were the host, I'd say, look, we do talk radio. It's no fun to celebrate Josh Allen's successes. People come on to talk about interesting topics.
For sure.
This is what they do. And look, but it was interesting, his explanation, basically saying, look, you can't have a top quarterback, 3 top running backs, a top offensive line, and 4 top receivers. You got a salary cap. You got to go somewhere. You got to, and we put up 30 points a game. He did seem a little bit defensive.
Yes, he did.
I think he could have got the same point across is by saying, yeah, we're always looking for better. We clearly needed help on defense because we put up 30 points a game.
As he said, 30 points in 8 straight games. He said, we just scored. Yeah, that's what he said.
Yeah. And yes, I would like to score 40. And maybe if we can find a wide receiver, we'll score 40. But like it seemed defensive. It's like, you know who I want to shout out before we get to it? Like Shedeur Sanders. We can break down where he was drafted, this, that, the other. But I got to shout out Shedeur Sanders. I don't know him, but I have a lot of respect for how he handled himself. I don't know what happened in the meeting rooms. I don't know what his talent is. I think that drop was kind of crazy, obviously, and unprecedented. And I am absolutely rooting for Shedeur Sanders. Before I was neutral on Shedeur Sanders. I did not like him, but I am absolutely rooting for him because the way he handled himself, he didn't sulk. He didn't do anything. Look, even with the prank call, he apparently talked to the kid when the kid reached out.
He called him and talked to him. Yeah.
And he talked to him. He took his call. He got drafted in the 5th round, and he said, "Thank you for drafting me." He's looking forward to be a Cleveland Brown. I don't know what he said in meetings, if anything, to make people mad.
There's a lot of stories, but I don't know whatever happened.
And
yeah,
I've heard those rumors too, but I've got spreading.
Regardless of those, yeah.
Okay, strictly rumors, but I heard the rumors that some front offices, it's sourced not poorly, but I don't deal in rumors. But the rumor was that he told front offices or meetings that when I'm in the building, I'm all about ball. So I guess it raised questions about when he's not.
When you're not in the building.
Right, wrong, or indifferent. I'm not here to spread rumors. He got drafted in the 5th round. But I got a lot of respect for the way he handled himself. Even when his social media team posted the prank call in real time, it wasn't like he was just like, huh, what really happened here?
Yeah, he didn't know until then, yeah.
Very calm. Very what a leader would be. He wasn't like, WTF, what did this guy do? How did he get himself? He didn't seem mad. And he says it didn't bother him. He took the kid's call. He said and done all the right things.
Right.
And so I got to give him some props. I'm absolutely now rooting for him.
He could have said "F you" to that call for the way he did with the,
F you or just not taking
it. Yeah.
He took the
Didn't need to give him an apology or anything. Yeah.
He took the call, right? And my son heard about it, and I was like, Davis, I know how the NFL works. They are going to find out how they got
found really quickly
because these were individual cell phones.
He said he only got the phone just for this process. So no one, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Imagine if you're any college player, okay? How many friends are texting and calling you? You can tell all you want, don't call me, don't call me.
They're going to do it.
But your phone is
they're going
to be buzzing, right? I mean, and then how do people know your number? So they get a quote dedicated phone. And if you look at the Deion Sanders video that his I don't know who it was. I don't know if it was a sister or a cousin or a friend, but some lady had the phone. She was in charge of holding the phone. And she was like, oh, it's ringing. So in theory, only the teams are supposed to have this number. Call this phone.
Right.
So she's like, oh, it's ringing. Like,
so what that purpose of the call is.
This is literally a one-purpose burner phone.
Yes.
I mean, it's a bat line from the NFL to you. So you're not on hold. You're not on whatever. And you do see a lot of players with two phones in their hands. They may actually have two phones.
They might.
But in this case, this is like the Boost Mobile, whatever, NFL dedicated phone and their regular.
This is
phone.
one call coming in. Yeah.
So, so some guys may actually have three phones, but that's a different story. But my point is that
for Sanders,
a lot of respect for him. And I think a 5th round pick, what a tremendous bargain. I mean, the thing that's interesting is, look, I would have loved Shedeur at 3. I would love Shedeur at 5.
I will say something
more. I would have drafted Dillon Gabriel at 3.
So that's what I was wanting to say. You said like sometimes you don't know about a draft maybe until afterwards. Maybe not like the player, but like for wasted draft capital, I think maybe you could define that now, right? Just wasting Dillon Gabriel at 94 and then 144 for Sanders seems wasted capital, right?
Well, let's look at their quarterback room. You got Deshaun Watson,
who's in theory might be.
He's not going to be there.
Right.
Okay. You have Joe Flacco. You have Kenny Pickett. You have Dillon Gabriel. And you have Shedeur Sanders. I get it. Every team is going to have 4 or 5 quarterbacks. Browns might add another one for training camp.
Just a camp arm.
Okay.
If not one of those already.
But how many are they carrying for the season?
3.
Teams carry 2 or 3.
And then 1 practice squad, if not the third one is.
So who's going to practice squad? Kenny Pickett ain't going to.
I already told you, Kenny Pickett's either the starter or the backup. That's what he's there for. They traded for him for that.
Joe Flacco's
starting. He was in that offense before. Did I tell you about that DraftKings bet I did see when you told me about this? So you have Flacco at plus 1,200. They have Kenny Pickett at minus 110. And then you have Gabriel and Sanders floating around the plus 200s, plus 150s.
If anyone wants
or Deshaun Watson as well, yeah.
If anyone, I'm in California, so I don't place wagers. But
if you're in Illinois, maybe call me. I would like to get this bet in as well. But yeah, because when I talk to you about bets sometimes, Doc, I just want to hear where you are because we're not placing right because we're in California, but just to hear your process. If you're telling me you're so sure about Joe Flacco starting out of that group and he's plus, 100.
Joe Flacco is the starter.
There you go. Yeah.
Why? They regret not bringing him back last year. He had success the previous year.
They changed the offense for Watson. They regret doing that. They've said that.
Stefanski's worked with him. Kenny Pickett is learning a new offense. Look, could Joe Flacco pull a calf muscle and not take the first snap of the season? Yes, it's possible.
Age.
But he's the favorite in the clubhouse. How is he the long shot at plus 1,200?
Sanders has a better odds than he does. Yeah. And Gabriel.
Shedeur Sanders and Gabriel, neither one is starting.
I think Gabriel has a chance to get cut. I think Sanders might be better than him talent wise. I just don't know if they knew they were getting Sanders when they drafted Gabriel, right? So I mean, now you have 2 people.
Well, let's put it this way. You're not going Joe Flacco and Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur as your 3 on your roster.
Not 2 rookies as your backup makes no sense.
Rookies.
Right, correct. Yeah.
So one of those rookies is going to go practice squad. it's going to be Dylan Gabriel. I don't know. I don't even know Dylan Gabriel. I don't know. So whatever. But they clearly liked him for the third round, and then coming back to the fifth. That's the only thing that I think was interesting. But a lot of mad risk. Look, as I always say, if it doesn't make sense, it does if you're in the building or in the room. So Cleveland clearly had their thought process. I'm not bagging on for it. I just, from the outside, it's like, I don't see them carrying Gabriel and
Sanders.
Shedeur,
Yeah.
right. So we'll see. But Joe Flacco's the starter. Come on. But mad respect for Shedeur.
I just had a couple of things about Sanders. What did you see anything negative? Just how I guess like he kind of acts like his dad, like very super confident, like they go have a nightlife. He does the rap music. He has a life outside of football. Do you think that severely affected that? And did his dad act like that from rookie to whatever, or did his dad act like that now? And maybe he shouldn't act like that from rookie to, you know what I mean? Does it take a while to get to be able to accept that kind of confidence? I mean, I don't know. We should always be accepting it. There's nothing wrong with it, but
look,
he rubs people the wrong way.
Maybe I haven't followed Shedeur enough, but based on what I've seen out of him, I get there could be questions that you're just a rookie and,
like creating your own draft room. I got tinglies or negatively when I think about that. Like, I don't know if you should have made your own custom. Why can't you just sit at a table with everybody else? That's something I feel like may be looked at the wrong way.
Well, it's a different world with NIL. Legendary is his dad's thing.
It's his company now too. He has his own. They're doing a lot of branding. That's his new thing. He has a rap stuff that he says that word a lot and uses it.
I don't blame a kid for wanting to be at their house or wherever they were,
right,
with family and friends, as opposed to that draft room there. I don't blame a kid. That's the way they do it now, and I don't know. It's just a different.
You can't just look at it negatively as like, oh, that's like you said. It's how things maybe are done now. It's the kind of.
But like I said, the way that
he handled it is more important.
With adversity,
right.
I mean, I would say that's a good quarterback leader.
That's reminiscent of how he would act normally than what he's doing. Yeah.
I don't see that as an act. I mean, for example. I get it. Here's the statement. I'm glad to be a Brown or this, that, the other, and happy to be drafted and whatever. You could call BS to that because it's a little bit of chance to be prepared. But the prank call video was, he wasn't like, he was a little confused. What does that mean? He was very calm about it. He's like, okay. And he moved on. I mean, a kind of thing. He wasn't screaming mad. Look, I get it's a big deal. I get it shouldn't happen. I guarantee you the NFL is investigating the Tyler Warren and all of these things. If you don't think the NFL has been trying to investigate who leaked Wonderlic scores.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
They don't like this stuff. And this is an NFL issued phone.
You stopped this though, because the way it sounds like it was the Falcons DC's son, so he just randomly went to go see his dad, and it was just laying on an iPad. So if Davis was a little older and he just went to go visit you, isn't that easily done? Like, how can you protect I guess not leaving on an iPad in front? I don't know, like not trusting your son. I don't know how you can prevent that certain situation from getting a number leaked.
Well, I'll bet you next year that list is going to 32 emails.
Okay. Yeah. No, I get you. Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's
how do you fix this? Because it seems like
it's going to go to 32 emails and that's it.
Okay.
And I don't know the technology side of it, but couldn't you have a phone that you could only receive calls from 32 numbers?
You could have a number that programs the numbers called in.
Blocks everything else except the 32 numbers.
Does the NFL send these burner phones with the hats and stuff? Is that part of like the package they give? Because I know they send the hats, they have the hat ready.
I don't know if it's the same.
Because if they do that, then I think the NFL could give them already pre-packaged phones with a number already in there. I think that could be done if the NFL controls the buying and sending of the burner.
The NFL controls.
Then I think they could. I think something could be done.
They probably could say incoming calls from 32 teams from 32 numbers only, and tell teams you have to call from this number.
Yeah, the main phone in the room or something.
Whatever the number is.
Right.
Kind of deal. So
there's ways. I think. Yeah, you're
this
right.
ain't happening again.
Yeah.
I know how NFL security works.
Mm-hmm.
This ain't happening again.
Okay.
This was a front burner item. And I promise you this. I'm not saying Jeff Ulbrich did anything wrong, but I guarantee you the league is investigating
They're going to figure out
what he did or
right.
didn't do. Here's the other thing. I feel bad for his son. Look, he clearly was clueless.
He's being filmed by his friends. He
clearly shouldn't have done it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not excusing him. I mean, look, I think he's owned up to it. That's great. I think who he left off the apology is he should have apologized to the Falcons and his dad.
Yeah, made his dad look bad through this too.
Maybe he already did. But here's the thing. If he really had, maybe he's got no self-awareness, but if he had self-awareness that this was wrong, why would he let himself be filmed? You don't think it's going to be tracked back? I'm like, okay, they're going to be able to figure out who this kid with an Ole Miss shirt has on, right?
And he's on the football team, so his headshot is readily available.
Figure it out.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I mean, they weren't gonna, and then track down where it came from. I mean,
well, like you said, he bought it just for this.
And he allowed himself to be filmed.
Right.
If he knew he's clueless. He didn't know what he was doing was wrong or bad.
Mm-hmm.
And to the kid's credit that called, I shouldn't credit the kid that called, but didn't it seem like I dare you to do this? Because the kid wasn't mean. He wasn't like
he was like he was all worried that the phone got picked up. He's like, oh crap, I gotta follow through with this.
Then,
he's like,
well, I'm that Mickey Loomis, and he's like,
yeah,
oh, we're gonna draft you, which is a lie because you're gonna have to wait a little longer. I mean, he didn't like. Bam says, we're just kidding. You got
he tried to make it more real.
It wasn't exactly. I don't know. I'm dating myself. Prince Albert in a can. Let him out. It
there
wasn't like. I mean, it was just like he was like, oh shoot, like I think it was like a dare or something. I dare you to call this.
I mean, the second he saw that video on Twitter, he should have been like, oh crap, that's going to be found out very quickly. And the draft wasn't even over by the time that Instagram post was sent out, right? So I mean, they fixed it pretty quickly.
NFL went pretty.
They didn't like that. Yeah.
NFL has significant security. I mean,
the one thing
they're all ex-cops.
They're all FBI, former FBI,
all ex-law enforcement. And, and they call their buddies. They have ways. NFL security is top notch.
I remember when you told me. I know this is off topic, but I remember when they used the Ravens said they didn't have the Ray Rice footage. I remember you told me you're like, they have to. There's people that are getting paid lots of money to find that information for you as a team, right? So,
all right.
But next thing I have, Doc, there was a huge draft, right? A huge trade in the draft. Jaguars moved up from their position to 2, drafted Travis Hunter. And then this is a 34-year-old GM. This is his first year doing this. He was under McVay and Snead over in the Rams. Tell me your thoughts on his quote that he had about Travis Hunter.
Look,
it's a lot of words.
Yeah, look, I'm not trying to make fun of anybody, but my worry for Jacksonville has nothing. I don't know who James Gladstone is. He may be the smartest guy in the world. I don't really know Liam Cohen. He may be the best head coach in the world. But let's look at what your Raiders did last year.
Mm-hmm.
They decided to hire linebacker, first-time head coach.
Antonio Pierce, yeah.
Antonio Pierce. He coached, although he was a head coach at Arizona State.
He was assistant coach at Arizona State. He was never, Herm Edwards was the head coach. Yeah.
In any case, first-time NFL head coach. What did they do? They went out and hired an experienced GM in Tom Telesco. Look, I think it's an unusual what the Jaguars did in hiring 2 first-timers. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying it won't work. It's unusual.
Well, they just had someone that won a Super Bowl for Pedersen, so maybe they went the completely opposite route.
I said this about the Eagles who won the Super Bowl. After they won their last Super Bowl, they made a change at head athletic trainer, head team physician, or the orthopedist, and head medical physician.
Which you thought was unprecedented, right?
Unprecedented.
Right.
They brought in 3 new guys. By the way, the head team physician who got let go after their previous Super Bowl was rehired ahead of this season. So he might be the good luck.
They rectified a mistake, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, but my point is experience matters. Experience in the room matters. Like when Kyle Shanahan was hired to the 49ers and first-time GM, not really front office guy, John Lynch.
Yep.
Number 1, he got a lieutenant that was really good. Number 2, it was pairing with Kyle Shanahan, who's experienced at the time, at least of NFL veteran. Okay, first-time head coach, but they went and got some.
They cover their own shortcomings, I guess. You got to find a way.
It's just what's smart. Look, you don't want a rookie quarterback coach and first-time offensive coordinator, right? You want a little experience in the room.
Mhm.
You don't want your quarterback group to be all three young guys. You need, yeah. So anyways, so I thought it was interesting, but it was sort of pre-planned. I got to give the Browns credit. They kept it all quiet.
Mhm.
I got to give my guy, Mike Silver, credit. He knew to be in that draft room, and
Yep.
that was the biggest.
That was smart.
That was the,
Yeah.
So kudos to my man, Mike Silver there.
He's always on top of
You're
it,
on
whether
top.
you
He's
know
been
it,
in
whether you
draft-
know it or not.
He was there for the Michael Sam.
Mhm.
He was there. He's been in several different draft rooms. What a great job he does. But not only, look, I can tell you this, maybe Mike, you can confirm.
Gotta get him on the pod,
or
honestly,
deny.
this
We'll get
summer.
him
Yeah,
on the
for
pod.
sure.
My question to Mike, and I know the answer to this, I'll bet money on this.
Mhm.
It wasn't an accident that he went to Jacksonville. The Jacksonville knew, and he knew something.
Yep.
They kept it quiet, and they said, what, 17 days ahead of time the trade was done. Or
Yep.
something.
Yeah. It's like more than 2 weeks. Yeah, for sure. It was
Yes.
insane. Yeah.
So
That's hard to do nowadays, right? Keep that under wraps, right? But
it's hard to keep stuff under wraps.
does that make you think like this, like the young, like they would have something like set up well over in the Jaguars? Maybe this would have leaked out if they were like kind of a young, inexperienced, kind of like maybe they do have a plan or
Well, just got to keep your mouth shut.
shut. Yeah. Well, it's harder than you know.
keep the circle small.
Yeah.
I mean, right? I mean, yeah, you just got to keep the circle small. Like it's not the same level. We kept Phillip Rivers' injury quiet,
Mhm.
partly because this is before the AFC Championship game, and his surgery, partly because medical staff was told, don't announce it to the team or don't announce it at the coaches meeting.
Mhm.
You understand, at the coaches meeting, there's 20 some guys in the room. So
Every position coach, every assistant, they're all there. Okay.
And senior defensive assistant,
Mhm.
offensive assistant, there's a lot of people in the room.
Mhm.
So now if 20 people know, then it starts to
It's too much. Yeah.
expand,
Yeah.
right? So you just got to keep the circle small.
Yeah.
And then that's how you keep secrets, but good on them. So a lot of basketball injuries this weekend, huh? I mean, we had Jimmy Butler, who
Yes.
should play
Tonight.
tonight. If it's game 7, he's playing for sure. He was always hurt, not injured. He fell on his glute, which thankfully is a lot of padding. He was sore. He missed one game. I think it's an important game to maintain home court. So I think
They're up 2-1 right now. They need this game. Yeah.
So I think he plays tonight.
And the big one last night, Dame Lillard. Yeah. What are your thoughts
I
on
don't
that?
think it's official yet.
Not a confirmed. No.
But
yeah.
You don't need an MRI. It's an Achilles tear.
Well, you saw what Doc Rivers said. They already said it already looks bad, and they didn't even get that MRI. They already kind of know.
Off
already,
a Thompson test, off an exam. They knew within minutes.
Mhm.
They knew before they got him off the court.
Right.
I believe.
Just the way they had to pick him up and just.
Well, if I could know from television, then.
Well, tell me what you saw when the video we didn't. Yeah.
We missed the moment of the tear, but you
Mhm.
saw a little bit of the calf ripple. The TV just didn't show it. It was a step before that he went down. But the way he was taken off, his foot position, I mean, that it met our 95% threshold. Look, you guys have to understand, when I say worry for, I'm just saying, look, I don't know for sure. I'm not breaking into news as fact. I probably should have said, by limited video, it seems like a clear Achilles rupture.
Yeah.
I just don't want to report it as fact because it's opinion that it's Achilles. But I guess I could have said it stronger. But here's the news. This absolutely is related to his blood clot.
Mhm.
Okay, the blood clot was on the right.
Right.
So there's compensation. But when you don't play and work out, and how old is Damian Lillard now?
He's past 30. I want to say 34, 35.
Yeah. And so acclimation, startup, eccentric load.
34.
The overloaded healthy side. He's older for a player. It's related not necessarily to the clot itself, but it's related to the fact that he missed a month of playing time and now starts up at a very high level very quickly. I'm not blaming the Bucks.
Like he didn't return too early. It's just from being out so long and then coming back. It's hard.
A preseason acclimation injury, but he's in season and all of a sudden he comes back and the blood clot, and he's 34. So is it related? Yes, not directly, but indirectly. The circumstances added to it.
A doctor would have told him to still play. He got cleared to play, so enough people told him to play.
He's cleared to play.
Yeah.
I'm not second guessing
Right,
that decision.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, however, is it related? Yes, his risk profile for an Achilles is higher because of the circumstances. And it's not surprising that it's on the left side. So it is related, but not linearly if A happens, always B. That's not it. It's just because of A, B has a higher chance. It's not as surprising. That's all.
And going forward, is this an entire year missed?
Surgery, he's not ready for the start of the season. I mean, if he can make it back for late season or playoffs, that'd be good.
You go to him or Kyrie, would it both be the same on time period, or would you think Kyrie, remember, has the ACL from a month or two ago?
Oh, both.
Yeah. Like playing a game with you.
Yeah.
Just quick last second. We have a couple baseball articles. We're covering all the injuries, insights, always at SICScore.com. Our SIC picks are flowing. Our 3-star picks are 21-5 this year, 80+%. So that's very good.
Here's the thing. If you like action, unless you're really studying baseball and even basketball, we've actually had really good baseball success, and our algorithms, some really good basketball success.
Right.
I know we made our name in football, and we're historically across 5 years 55.
Your name is Pro Football Doc, but
there's no question we know more about football, but we have basketball guys on staff and so forth. And this is why we're Sports Injury Central. But if you're a football guy, like I am primarily, unless you want to do UFL, there's nothing to do for football right now. Even the draft stuff is over. If you want action, check out SIC Picks. I mean, 21-5, that's pretty good on the 3-star picks for baseball. We have a similar record in basketball. Check it out. Correct. And we got some new features coming, etc. Anyways, what else do we want to cover this week? I will get on and get some guests. Just on the
lookout for off-season surgeries for NFL. We had Mustafa safety ACL injury, and then Michael Pittman. Yeah, there'll be more
off-season. There's no injury reporting, so there's no reason for a Week 18 injury for teams to say, like the 49ers say, Mustafa tore his ACL.
A beat writer will do it. That's it.
A beat writer will do it, or when they start coming back or
off-season
why
program.
Are they here for off-season program? Right. That's when the trickle comes out, because there's no injury reporting in the off season.
Right.
And we'll see it more. The big date that you'll see more of these injuries come up or updates is when it's like a mandatory mini camp, because then it's like, okay, who's here and who's not here? Why not? Who's on the field, who's not? Why not? This off season OTA stuff, it's a little more nebulous because it's, quote, voluntary.
Right.
Was the guy Mustafa not here because he just chose not to be, or was he injured? Right. So you don't know. But when it comes to a mandatory minicamp,
then
that's when things go. Oh, and let me give you one thing here. Aaron Rodgers, I believe, look, do you really think Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers don't have a plan for who's going to be at quarterback? The way they drafted and everything else, and the way they passed on Shedeur and everything else.
I had that bet, by the way, plus 200, and it was at minus 150 by the draft. I thought he was going to Pittsburgh, but
you think
they don't have a plan?
Mike Tomlin doesn't have a plan?
What was your thought? You said they're getting older on defense. They need just a ready to go quarterback who fits the mold. Rodgers, Cousins likes, right? So,
look, they don't have Rodgers in house yet. But why wouldn't they take Shedeur in the 2nd or 3rd round or 4th round if they don't have a plan?
So they visited him already. Do you think he visited him and said, hey, I'll be here?
Mark my words. Yep. The Steelers and Mike Tomlin have a plan. Is it Kirk Cousins? I don't know. I think it's Aaron Rodgers. I think they got the wink and the nod saying Aaron was coming. Now, maybe he doesn't want to be there. Maybe there's another visit to Egypt that he wants to make.
He has a dark room to go to,
or something.
Right.
He doesn't want to be. I'm not banging on Aaron Rodgers. The way that the Steelers drafted, if you're a fan, you'd say, WTF, we don't have a quarterback.
Mason Rudolph. That's what Ryan Clark did.
Yeah. I guarantee you Mike Tomlin has a plan. There's some, we won't know it, but just like Andrew Berry played it cool with, who are we going to draft? They already knew Sanders. The trade was done, right? 17 days earlier. This is the same thing. Like, could the Jacksonville Jaguars reneged on the trade? Yes, they could. Could Aaron Rodgers or whatever they have an agreement renege? I guess he could, but they're not flying by the seat of their pants.
Mhm.
If it doesn't make sense from the outside, it does from the inside. They have a quarterback plan, and it leads me to believe the way they drafted it's Aaron Rodgers.
They're even talking to everybody's off, but Travis Hunter, they were talking about like, oh, what were you doing last night? He's like, oh, I was looking at houses on Zillow. They're like, how did you know? In Jacksonville, they're like, how did you know that? He's like, oh, I just had a feeling. Like you know, like it's 17 days. Like like you said, there's this stuff that's out there they have to keep.
Well, it would behoove some teams. Look, the way it works. How does he know to look for houses on
the
Zillow?
day before the draft, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is how it works. Somebody says, before you pull off a trade like that to go up and get them, do you want to be surprised? Okay. As attorneys say, never ask a question you don't know the answer to in court. If you know you're going to go up and get Travis Hunter, any kid, doesn't it behoove you to back channel a little bit and say, hypothetically speaking, does your guy have a problem with Jacksonville?
Right.
If he says, I'm not going to Jacksonville, it's too hot, or I don't like this, that, the other, then don't you have to think twice about the trade?
Because he said he never spoke to them before us at the combine. So that means, like you said, they did their own stuff.
Well, that's part of the secrecy, right?
Don't want anybody to show that I'm talking to you. Yeah.
And who knows who knows how it works, but it's not impossible that someone reaches out to the agent and say, let me give you 3 hypothetical teams: Cleveland, the Giants, and Jacksonville. Or do you have a problem with any of the top 5 teams?
Just say it like that. Yeah. That's the easy way to say it. Yeah.
Going to any of the top 5
like,
teams.
oh, I don't like Cleveland. It's cold. Okay, shoot. We gotta.
I mean, you would expect Jacksonville to do a little due diligence behind the scenes without tipping their hand,
right,
as to what they're going to do. All right. Anyways, check it out. Lots of basketball playoffs and baseball stuff going on. We'll continue with football. We'll bring back some guests starting next week. Thanks for watching and listening. Sorry for being late today, but we're planning some really good things. Pro Football Doc, Sports Injury Central podcast. Thanks.